Have you been to DEF CON, the world's largest hacker conference? If you have, or you're just a fan of the conference, you'll want to check out Silent Pocket's limited edition product line of DEF CON branded wallets and Faraday sleeves. The DEF CON branded wallet comes with RFID shielding and a metal multi-tool and made of beautiful leather. The DEF CON branded Faraday sleeve is made from waterproof woven nylon and blocks all wireless signal. These exclusive products won't last long, so pick up yours today at silentpocket.com and make sure you use discount code SHAREDSECURITY at checkout to take 15% off your order. Welcome to episode 109 of the Shared Security Weekly Blaze, and I am joined with very special guest and, well, frequent guest, Kevin Johnson.
I'm not very
Welcome back
special.
to the show. You are special, Kevin.
Well,
Didn't your mother always tell you that you are special?
You know, I changed my name for a reason, right?
That's true.
So bad example.
Yes. Well, for those of you that have noticed that we have Kevin back on the show, and this is not the standard format that we do for our weekly Blaze, but we're trying something a little different. So I think we're going to try maybe once a month. We're going to have Kevin join us to talk about the top 3 cybersecurity and privacy news stories from the week. And we can get his colorful commentary on these illustrious topics.
I like
it. It's going to be great. So before we get started, though, I did want to let everybody know that we do have a listener survey that was just launched. And so I encourage all of our listeners to take the survey. It takes under 10 minutes to complete. And we'll enter in your email address if you would like to provide that for to win a $25 Amazon gift card. So appreciate any feedback, and please fill out the survey. sharedsecurity.net/survey is how you can get to that. And with that, let's jump into the news from the week. And let's start with our very first topic, which is the announcement from Ring that they are now making two-factor authentication mandatory following all those recent hacks. And if you don't see the video on YouTube here, I have hacks in quotes.
And italics.
In italics, yes. And so those hacks, as we've mentioned on the show before, and I'm sure you've seen on the news all over the national media, those videos of hackers breaking into people's Ring cameras, scaring the heck out of little kids in their bedrooms. And I mean, really terrifying stuff, to be honest. And as we've said before, those were the result of either people choosing poor passwords, where somebody can guess that password, or attackers are looking up databases of previous data breaches, and then they are utilizing those passwords and username combinations to break into Ring cameras. And so, as you know, the controversy is that there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now where people are suing Ring, saying that Ring didn't protect my account. They let this happen. There's a security weakness in the Ring product that caused this. And so now Ring has been kind of forced to increase their security controls by mandating two-factor authentication. So what do you think about this, Kevin?
Well, I'd like to start with saying, if you're one of the people breaking into people's accounts and then scaring people, stop being a jerk.
Yeah.
You're just a jerk. That's it. You're, but moving past that, I think I'm very hard pressed to say yes, a lawsuit about something like this makes sense. So I'm going to stay away from commenting on that because that just seems to get political very quickly. Two-factor is awesome. I don't know why they didn't roll it out before. I mean, I know why they didn't. They didn't make it mandatory, right? Yeah. And I get that, right? There's a user interface, a user experience you want to get. I understand that. I personally believe that every single system we have that makes us log in should support two-factor authentication. And if you haven't turned it on, it's your own fault if you get compromised. If it's available, right? If it's available and you haven't turned it on, it's your fault. I think this is awesome. And I hope that other organizations recognize this from a perspective of, I hear from customers all the time, well, we didn't make it mandatory because, man, we've got 1,000 people who use that site, and it would be so difficult to get them all to use it. And it's like, Ring has 47 billion users. And no, I'm making that up. Right, but they don't have 1,000.
Right.
So
it's not a small company.
Yeah, if Ring can just say, okay, tomorrow, turn it on, other people can do the same thing. That's what I'm hoping comes out of this, is that people start paying attention.
And we're starting to see that. Google, with their Nest product, just did the same thing recently as well. So it could be the start of a trend, and actually a positive development.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I do agree, though, that I think that this is the least of Ring's concerns. I agreeing with the EFF, saying that, hey, that it's good that you're turning that, but man, you still have other privacy concerns going on, right? I know that I was just reading something the other day where people were complaining about that most people haven't thought about what else is visible to their Ring. Right, like I have a Ring doorbell in my house. I do. It's because I travel, and I'd like to be able to monitor if there's a problem or something like that. But I actively positioned it so that it couldn't see my neighbor's house. Like I did that on purpose because I recognize. But I'm in a situation where I was able to do that because of placement of my front door. Right, like. So I think that there's a lot of other privacy problems, especially with how easy it is for the police or other organizations to gain access to these videos,
Right. That is true. And then the other change that they made on top of that was now people can opt out of that third-party data sharing. That was also kind of controversial, where, of course, marketing companies and other, ad agencies get certain information about how people use Ring devices. And so no surprise there, but like most companies, they freely sell that data all the time.
I'm always amazed when you read an article, it's like, oh my gosh, did you know that they sold this? Like, how did you not know this? It's 2020. I'm not saying it's okay they sell it. I'm just saying, why is it such a surprise every time it comes out?
I don't know.
People don't pay attention.
No, they don't. So kind of in that same light, the second story I wanted to talk about this week was California police have been illegally sharing license plate reader data. So there was a large audit that was done in California, actually done by the state of California. And they had found that 230 police and sheriff departments in the state, they use that automated license plate reader technology. It's called ALPR. And they are sharing that information with many different unknown third parties. And this investigation really didn't go into who they were sharing this information with.
Marketing companies.
It could be. Yeah, really. I mean,
it actually could be.
Yeah. It very well could be. Police obviously need to share this with other law enforcement agencies across the country and those types of things, because absolutely, I agree that the technology, it has a lot of positive usage, right? Like finding abducted children, high profile investigations, murders, those types of things. Absolutely. But apparently in California, it seems like it's the Wild West, where there's just no oversight, and police just seem to be handing this data over. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, let me say something nice about California, which is common for me. I do want to point out, you said that it seems like it's the Wild West. They're just sharing it to everybody. I want to point out that we know they're doing it because they audited themselves. So I want to give them credit that they went out and looked, because I will bet you that California is not the only state where the police are sharing it. Yeah, right. So I'm glad they figured this out. They talk about it, everything else like that. I think it's atrocious that they're not talking about who they're sharing it with. And honestly, and maybe this is conspiracy theory, maybe we can talk about flat earth in a minute. I think that the fact that they're not telling us who they're sharing it with is scarier to me than to find out they're sharing it.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I'm cynical, I'm a jerk. I have an immense distrust for the government. So I immediately think, oh, they are sharing it with marketing departments, because if they weren't sharing it with marketing, they would tell us, right? But I don't know that. I have no proof, right? I that's what worries me, because, and I actually disagree with you a little bit. You made the comment that you think it's a big positive to be able to share this for abducted kids and murders and stuff like that. And I think that if it was only those cases, I would agree with you.
It's a fair point.
But we know that even if they're sharing information with other law enforcement agencies, we know law enforcement is misusing this. And it's been proven time and time again that law enforcement misuses this data, that it's not good. That bothers me. And I don't know the right answer, because part of me wants to say, yes, find the kids, stop murders. I mean, that's awesome. But man, I just, especially if you've ever tested from a security perspective a police department with permission, they suck at it. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like testing any kind of local or state government network or infrastructure. I remember that when I was doing consulting too, it was always really bad. You're totally right.
And it's, there's that answer of, well, where do you want them to spend your money, right? Because it is your money that they're spending. And
that's right.
And I get it. I really do. But if their security is that bad, let me ask you how many people got access to this data that they weren't sharing it with on purpose, right? Like, that concerns me. I think that I also am very, very worried about what they do with the data afterwards, right? I've read way too many dystopian future sci-fis that talk about the police knowing everywhere I've been and then charging me for the idea that I was nearby a crime or something. That scares me. But I will admit, I read too much.
Well, and the fact that they link this data, license plate data, to other things. There's, they, like in this article we'll have in our show notes, they talk about, either records, criminal records, maybe not even criminal records, maybe part of other things as part of an investigation, other personal data that they've collected. And as you know, all this metadata can be consolidated, and now license plate data is just now one more piece of the puzzle that could be used to identify someone. And
if you combine the license plate reader with the red light cameras, right? I just recently got a ticket for running a red light. Hypothetically, of course, we'll ignore the fact they had a picture of my face driving the car. I swore the yellow light was longer, and I went through it, and I got hit with the red light camera. And there's also what happens when they start tying, and I say when they start as if they haven't already. So they've got tag data, they've got a facial recognition, right? And they're identifying it to a house, and all that data pulled together, then being shared with parties unknown. That should worry people. And if you don't live in California, you should be working to find out why your own state hasn't audited. That's what I took out of this.
This is just one state. This technology is everywhere. So, and even overseas, it could be even worse overseas. We just don't know. So. And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. The biggest problem in security that remains unsolved are flat networks in cloud and data centers, with unprotected attack paths that allow threats to move laterally to cause data breaches. But microsegmentation using network addresses is complicated and takes too much time. But there's a better approach: Edgewise Zero Trust Auto Segmentation. Edgewise is impossibly simple microsegmentation, delivering results immediately with a security outcome that's provable. At the core of Edgewise Auto Segmentation is Zero Trust Identity, which allows workloads to communicate only after their software identity has been verified. Malicious or unimproved software is no longer allowed to communicate. Identity-based protection provides more coverage with fewer policies to make Edgewise simple to deploy and manage. No changes to the application or network are required. One solution protects virtual machines and containers in the cloud and on premises. To stop lateral threat movement and prevent breaches, visit edgewise.net for a demo and to see results within minutes. The last topic I want to talk about, and I did want to mention that this is a historic moment next week for me personally. For the first time in my entire security career, I'm attending RSA.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So the RSA conference, that one of the largest, for those of you that don't know what that is, it is one of the largest cybersecurity conferences in the country here in the U.S. It takes place in San Francisco, California every year around this time. And it's known as, how should I say this? Known as a
marketing boondoggle,
a large vendor show, right?
Yes.
And in full disclosure, I do work for Veracode, and so that is the reason that I am going to help my company. So I will be in the booth, actually doing a fun little presentation. I'm doing like a brief kind of 15-minute presentation, and it's called "I Know What You Did on GitHub and Other Developer Mishaps." So I think Kevin's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
And I like the title.
Yeah, thank you. And so I'll be giving that talk a couple times during the conference, and of course other things I have involved there with my company. But yeah. So, and I know, Kevin, you and I had submitted talks in the past to RSA that were denied because I think some of the feedback we had were, your talks are too hackerish.
That was some of the feedback. I have spoken and taught at RSA.
That's right.
I spoke, my 40th birthday was on stage at RSA with John Strand, and he got the audience to sing happy birthday to me at RSA, which is an interesting experience. I've taught classes out there, and I will tell you that I don't want to bash RSA, but it's such a waste of money. But I know that's not what you
tell your employers that if you happen to be going to RSA.
Oh man, don't go. Don't make them make you go. There's so many better places to spend your time. Sorry.
The comments in this podcast are not necessarily
representative of it. Kevin's opinion. I always say, as my Twitter profile says, my opinions are my employers.
They are.
And
well, he is his
I own the company. But that's not the topic. You wanted to talk about IBM pulling out, right?
Yeah, I did. IBM and actually now AT&T.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, AT&T Cybersecurity is also pulled out of the RSA conference because of fears of the coronavirus.
And this is don't understand.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's been other conferences, I think, in the news. There was that one big mobile conference,
Mobile Security Congress, Mobile World Congress.
Yeah, in Barcelona, I think. That was canceled. Like the whole thing was canceled, and now we're starting to see this encroach on big conferences in the U.S. There is no indication that RSA is going to cancel the conference.
No. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
All seriousness, especially not this close to it, right? I don't understand why, because I mean the solution to coronavirus is just to drink tequila, but or better
not
beer.
Corona.
Yeah, not Corona. I mean, you put a lime in it. It fixes the issue. Yeah. No, look, I get it. I understand as a business owner that has had to make decisions like this, right? Like, hey, there's this thing happening, whatever this thing is, or is it worth the risk? Yeah. And I think for an organization like IBM, and now I think it's the same for AT&T, they are such an internationally spread out company. Yeah. They have so many people, and that it makes sense to say, you know what, we're just not going to run the risk. And I think it is also a sign that the cynic in me comes out, right? IBM can't pay for this good publicity of how they care about their employees. And I mean, how many times have people mentioned IBM in the last 2 weeks?
Right.
And so I'm not saying that's why they did it, but I'm saying that like it definitely helps. I think that in a case of IBM, it makes sense to say it's not worth the risk. I do believe, though, that the idea of what's going on with, what is it, COVID-19 or whatever the official name is, I really feel like it's been blown out of proportion. I read this really great analysis by Dragos on Facebook. I know nobody would believe I had a Facebook account, or more than one, and but and it really walked through some interesting points about how this isn't as bad as we're saying it is. We're blowing it out of proportion. That it's really, there are problems. The cruise ships are a good example.
Sure.
The lack of containment in some areas, but we're seeing a much better reaction than like when SARS broke out, right? And I'm not a doctor, I don't pretend to be one, but I understand pulling out. I do think it's an overreaction.
And there's only 15 confirmed cases in the United States,
and
none in California.
Yeah, and all 15 confirmed cases, I may be wrong on this, but my understanding is all of them are confirmed to have come either directly from that area in China, or like, it's not like, oh man, my neighbor has coronavirus and I don't know how he got it. They can track.
They can track.
Hey, the person came from, what is it, Wuhan? Is that how you pronounce
it? Wuhan, China, yep.
Yeah. So they came from Wuhan directly to Nashville or whatever. I made up Nashville. Don't panic.
Nashville panic.
Yeah. Like they flew. Oh, hey, we have a case in the United States. Well, of course we did. That's how that.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm glad people are, and health officials are coming out and saying, hey, by the way, the regular flu kills way more people in the United States every year. And so, don't ignore the basic precautions to protect yourself against the regular flu, which kills a lot more people.
I would like to hope that this may drive, and of course history has shown us that masses don't pay attention, but I'd like to see it drive a better acceptance of wearing a mask when you're sick, right? Like the number of times I've been sitting on a plane and the person next to me is coughing and snorting and it's like, man, just put a mask on, right? Or just wearing a mask in general, right? My understanding, I've never been to Japan, but my understanding in Japan, that's very culturally acceptable, and that'd be nice to see. I would like it.
It could actually help prevent
lots of
flu and a lot of diseases and things. Yeah, it's a good point.
Absolutely. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for attending.
Well, thank you for having me on.
I don't know why I say attending. This is not like
I'm cool with attending.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate it.
But we'll look forward to having you on again. And please, if you're listening to this, if you like this kind of newer format of the show, please provide feedback. If you don't like it, provide that feedback as well.
And there's a survey.
There is a survey now, sharedsecurity.net/survey, and please fill that out. And we'll catch all of you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
So I don't know if you heard it. Yeah. At some point in the middle of the conversation about Ring, I think it was Ring.
Yeah.
The Echo device that's in my room, I said,
really?
I'm sorry for something. Like, I'm sorry.
But I can pick that up in the.
And it popped up and said, it's okay. And I was like, why did that say that? That is so weird. But yeah, I have no idea what I said to trigger it. But
mine does the same thing. It's randomly sometimes just pops something.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
The whole thing.
So cool, man. I hope that was good.
That was great, man. Yeah, I like it. If we can, based on feedback, unless someone absolutely oh my God, this is terrible.
That was awful. Why would you do that?
I highly doubt that, but
hey.
Yeah, we'll try doing this. And it gives me a good break, too, from, putting together more formal type of show.
Yeah. I like it. And if you're willing to let me do it, I'd love to do it. So,
absolutely.
Oh, man, I'm so beat. So now I do need to run. Is there anything else you need from me right now?
I'm good.
Okay. Because I do need to go home so we can
man.
It is 5 o'clock.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks. Have fun, man.
All right, man. Thanks. Bye.